York, the city that doesn't mean no harm. Honest. It's Late Night with David Letterman. Tonight, comedian Alan King and the mayor of Chicago, Jane Byrne. Also, an interview with our director, Hal. Bad phone calls. And it's haircut day. And now, a man who believes hotels without room service are really motels, David Letterman!
Thank you very much. That's very kind. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Did you have a nice weekend? Quite honestly, I am beat. I had to help Al Haig move, and I am just exhausted. Let me, if you spend any time at all in this city, and by this city I, of course, mean New York City, if you're a tourist, one of the first things you want to do is walk through the park to kind of get a feel for the city, and occasionally... and by the park, I mean Central Park. And so I like to do this also to kind of get a feeling for what is on the mind of people visiting from other parts of the United States. And so I walked extensively through Central Park this weekend, and you hear a lot of comments, but the comment I heard over and over and over as people would gaze at the mass of humanity was, "Oh, I get it. They're having an E.T. look-alike contest." Kind of a long way to go, wasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? We have a fine... Excuse me. Apparently someone's TV dinner is done, and... this gentleman over there is Paul Schaefer, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, baby. Baby, you're too much.
Did you have a nice weekend, Paul?
I had a wonderful time, yeah.
Good.
I had a lovely fight with my girlfriend, and we just had a wonderful time.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but things are okay? Okay. Where was I? Let's just start all over, shall we? No, let's, where was I? Oh, that's right, okay, walking through the park. Okay, now, have I introduced the guests? Oh, well, that's all you needed to tell me. On this program tonight, we have a fine comedian and a well-respected gentleman in the motion picture, television, and Broadway. Is he on Broadway? Sure, let's say he's been on Broadway. Alan King, ladies and gentlemen, will be here. The mayor of one of the finest cities in the world and who's also been on Broadway, Jane Byrne from Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. We have a rare behind-the-scenes glimpse tonight, an interview with our director, Mr. Hal Gurney, ladies and gentlemen. And if there's enough time after all of this, I'm going to make a bad phone call. There seemed like there was something else I was going to mention. Oh, I know. No, believe me, I'm getting to that. But later in the week, Wednesday night, because of popular demand and a note from the president requesting this, we will have Clara McAllister back here. Now, a couple of months ago, Clara won our first elevator race, and she will be back to defend her title Wednesday night. And now on to the really good stuff. Tonight here on this program, it's haircut night, ladies and gentlemen. Last week we had thermal mug night, and it was such an overwhelming success. Here in the studio we had 56,000 people, and so we decided to try it again tonight with haircut night. We have 3 student barbers now from the Atlas Barber School of New York. Now, while you people were waiting in line, some of you decided you would like to have your haircuts tonight, or your hairs cut tonight, or however they say that. Those of you who wanted to have a haircut, come on down here now. We'll go in and get you started on your haircut. Oh, my, look at this group of folks. How do you do? Nice to see you. Gentlemen, how are you? Nice to meet you. And one woman. Let's go over here and meet our 3 student barbers from the Atlas Barber School right here in New York City. Come on, just follow me, if you will. We have the barbers right in here. Here is the historic green room. You've heard about it. You've seen it. There it is in person. Here we are, 3 barbers, no waiting. Come on in, if you will. How do you do? What is your name? Minerva, nice to meet you. I tell you what, why don't you go down in the far chair. Go on, yeah, right through there would be fine. And you in the second chair, sir. And I guess you'll be first for Minerva. Were you in front of this woman? Go ahead. Suddenly you seem to be a little reluctant about this whole proposition. Have a seat there. The rest of you folks, if you can file in there and pick up some magazines and just have a seat. And go ahead and start cutting hair, and we'll get the names of the rest of the barbers. And if you haven't already done this, so phone the neighbors and wake the kids. Put your feet up on the dog. This is Minerva, of course. When will you be graduating from barber school?
In a couple of weeks.
In a couple of weeks. So you're pretty well set on this deal then, aren't you? And how about you, sir? What is your name?
Stanley.
Stanley. And when will you be leaving the Atlas Barber School?
About another 4 months.
Another 4 months? All right. And yes, ma'am, your name is?
Erin.
Erin, and when will you be graduating?
3 months.
3 months. So it looks like a pretty good class? Okay, well, there you go. Just go ahead and start cutting your hair, and whenever you have an empty chair, jump in there, and we'll be checking back with you from time to time. I can't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. It's haircut night here on NBC. We'll be right back with a bad phone call after this. Thank you, Paul and Sly. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We have a fine night of show here for you. Alan King will be joining us also. The mayor of the city of Chicago, Jane Byrne, will be out here. And if that wasn't enough, and by gosh, don't you think it ought to be, I'm going to make a phone call for someone who has a phone call to make that they would rather not make, and I'll do that now. Who is the first participant in this exciting demonstration of live American... Actually, it's not live American television, but it is American, and that's close enough. Now, what is your name, ma'am?
Gwendolyn Gordon.
Gwen, where are you from?
I'm originally from Washington, but I live in Maryland now.
You're living where now?
In Maryland.
Maryland, I see. And what is the nature of the phone call you would rather not make tonight?
Well, about a week ago, I took my mother to Atlantic City, and she wants to go again. And I don't want to drive again. She had me going to Philly, then to Atlantic City, then back again. And so in a couple of weeks, we're supposed to be going again. She wants me to pay for everything. I agreed at the time, but now I don't want to.
Oh, so what you're going to do is pull the rug out from under the only mother you have. Is that... Okay, Gwen. Thank you very much. We'll let you know how... whether we... Now, we have another participant here. So if you can just step over to the microphone. Yes, ma'am. What is your name?
Dorothy Bucketman.
Dorothy... I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Bucketman, that's okay, no one ever hears it.
Buckerman?
Uh-huh.
And where are you from, Dorothy?
From Boston.
Boston, and you're down here for the purpose of?
For this. From the David Letterman Show.
Well, maybe we can arrange a little something extra for you, Dorothy. Molly, and what would you like me to do for you in the way of phoning tonight?
I had a job interview, actually I had 7 job interviews, for a hostessing job at the Sheraton Boston Hotel. And the job is 3 nights a week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, and they're going to pay me $4.92 an hour, and that's not enough for 7 interviews.
So, I see. Now, do you have the job now?
Mm-hmm.
You have the job.
And I don't want it.
So you don't want the job?
Mm-mm.
But again, this is not like the chairman of the board of GM. This is...
Well, the 7 interviews made it sound like that, and I don't...
I see.
It's not fair.
Okay, so you would like me to call up the guy and tell him that you're just fed up and...
Yeah.
Going to initiate some legal activity? Okay, that sounds like it may be a little more dangerous than I want to get involved with here tonight. Dorothy, have a seat, and would you like a haircut? Can we get your... Okay. And finally, we have a third person. This is... how do you do, sir? That's right. Go ahead and leave your hat on. And what is your name, sir?
My name's David Rhodes.
David, where are you from?
Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
And you're up here... Sure, folks from North Carolina. You're up here doing what?
Just visiting.
And what was the nature of the phone call you would like me to make?
Well, last weekend was my girlfriend's birthday, and I told her I'd fly her up to Washington, D.C., where I'm working this summer, the July 9th weekend, and I'd like for you to call her and tell her I won't be able to afford it.
I've never seen a kid more despondent. What do you think, Paul? You think this one here? Call this guy and... All right, fine. Come on down here, if you will, David. Let me give you your sponge there. Everybody participating tonight in Haircut Night or with the bad phone calls receives either a late night sponge or these lovely Late Night with David Letterman facial blotters. So you bet those certainly are crowd pleasers, aren't they? It's almost like let's make a deal here tonight. We got haircuts, we got blotters, we got sponges. This is the phone number here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where am I calling exactly, David?
Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem. You said that, didn't you? Oh, I'm getting confused now. I hope this is the correct number, or we'll end up ordering us a pizza from somewhere. Winston-Salem. Who am I calling? Your girlfriend?
Tracy.
Tracy. Nice enough woman?
Pretty nice.
What is she doing this summer while you're off running around? And
She's working.
she's working where?
At Peace Goods shop.
At where?
Peace Goods.
Oh, at Peace Goods. Hello, hello. Can anyone hear this? Yes, we can just you can hear this woman? Hello, is this Tracy Sims? Yeah. Tracy, my name is David Letterman. Hang on here just a second. What do you think? Can we replace this at one time, or? Okay. Oh, that's exciting, isn't it, David? All right.
Tension mount.
Okay, listen, Tracy, we're going to call you right back, so keep that line open and try to be surprised, okay? This will all be edited out. You'll never see any of this on the air, Dave, don't you? These phone calls are a great idea, aren't they? Ooh. How old is Tracy?
She's 19.
Oh, we got a much better ring there. Much better ring. 19? How long have you been dating?
About 3 years.
Oh, now she's not going to pick up.
Hello?
Hello, is this Tracy Sims?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Tracy. My name's David Letterman. I'm calling from New York City.
Oh. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine.
I guess you're looking forward to that big trip to Washington, D.C. this summer, huh?
Yes. I really am. How'd you know about it?
Well, your friend David Rhodes, you know David, of course, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, David is right here, and he's never looked better, by the way. And David asked me to call you and let you know that just no way in hell was this going to work. You don't have the dough?
Don't have the dough.
David claims he doesn't have the dough. He's wasted it all on wardrobe, Tracy. So
He's right there?
he's right here. Would you like to talk with him?
No, I'm going to talk to you.
Oh. Fine. Hang on here, Tracy. We're going to pause. We'll be right back. I'll be talking to Tracy. Alan King is here. Hello, Tracy. Very nice. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the show. It's, of course, Haircut Night. Chicago Mayor Jane Byrne is here, and my first guest is a producer, a comedian, a writer, actor, businessman, philanthropist, and bon vivant. His latest film is entitled Author. Please welcome Alan King. Thank you very much for being here. I was reading your biographical information this afternoon, and it mentioned that you are now in your 40th year in show business.
This summer now, right now, yeah, 40 years ago, I got on a boat train and went to the Catskill Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
That's professionally. I was with Major Bowes when I was 13, so that would be about 43 years ago.
What kind of things were you doing with Major Bowes? I'm just barely aware of what that was. The
Major
show.
Bowes, it was an amateur show, and you used to have to break in. You know, you do all the local shows, and you get good enough. And I came in second. The guy that won was a bald-headed man who took his knuckle and pounded on his head and accompanied himself to the bells of St. Mary. And he came in, so you imagine how good I had to be to come in second. And then what happened was that Major Bowes used to take out these vaudeville units made up of the contestants. Frank Sinatra was a Major Bowes winner. Oh, Robert Merrill of the Met. Victimone, many. It was quite an alumni.
Yeah, so this was a real heavyweight show that folks got to see around the country.
And we would travel from town to town, 8 in a room on peanut. I'm talking about you, Major. Anyway, and, I think he ran the camps during the war. And but it was a great experience. It was better than going to school at the time.
You know, how did you get around that? Did you ever complete school?
No.
Really?
Can't you tell?
No, of course not. You were a sophisticated, refined, intellectual gentleman.
Yes, well, that when you go to expensive tailors and get your teeth fixed.
Now, when you were at the Catskills, you were working with other comics, right?
Well, the Catskill Mountains was we had a director, or the social director. That was the name that was so important. He was the one who produced the shows, and many great men and women came out of the Catskill Mountains. But I started for the first 2 years as the porch tumbler. That means I didn't get to play. I did bit parts in the show, but my job was, after every meal, I would run around a porch with funny hats, you know, and I'd throw myself in a pool, you know, and if there was no water in a pool, it didn't make no difference. And the whole idea was to keep them laughing all day long.
Now, when you say Catskills, there's a huge resort area up in these hills, right?
Sullivan County.
And it's hotels?
There were thousands of them, literally thousands of them. And, Danny Kaye and Moss Hart. I mean, you go on, it's a legend. And it was an incredible place. It was the training ground. You got to do everything. You got to build sets. You got to write material. You got to you were a straight man. You were comic. You sang a couple of songs. You danced with the guests. That was very important. You had to dance with the single girls and the old ladies, you know, with the jowls hanging down nice, you know. And the boss used to walk around and said, come on, mix. That was the word. Mingle. Yeah. Mingle. But it was a time, we'll never see the likes of it again.
Now, let me ask you about that. Is that good or bad? That
no,
we'll
that
never
was
see?
Good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's bad in the sense that we didn't have the television media. So we had a chance, like George Burns said, we had a chance to be bad for so long till we got good.
Yeah.
It was an incredible experience. We used to do a dramatic night, guest night. I did a serious sketch every week for about 4 years, Kilometers, and it was behind bars, and the bars were rubber. And by the middle of the summer, when the temperature got to be about 120, they'd start to wilt. And this was heavy, very heavy. It was called The Last Mile. Tracy did it, Spencer Tracy did it. And we'd do it, and it was my confession before I go to the chair. And I'd see these rubber bars just... And then I knew I was going to be a comic, because all of a sudden in the middle I did a harpo, and I played the harp on it.
Is there anything now that replaces the experience for a young comic or other performer?
I'm sure. The improv. Yeah. I go to the, well, let me say, I keep talking about, because I've done it for 40 years, but I go to all these, you know, Catch a Rising Star and the Improv and the Candy Store and whatever have you. And I'm sorry to say that comedy is in good hands.
Oh, well, that is a little disappointing, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, these kids, every generation has its own, and they get good and they get better. I don't know. I mean, Robin Williams and would have been incredible, and he would have been alongside of Burt Lahr, and you know.
But in those days, you weren't shooting for TV. You weren't trying to get 6 minutes together to be on Merv Griffin or whatever.
Right. That's what's so difficult about it.
Now let me ask you this: had nothing ever more come your way, would you have been content to go from town to town, whatever the club or the venue or the circumstance? I mean, were you committed to doing stand-up comedy for the rest of your life?
Oh, yes. First of all, you know, when you're a kid coming out of the neighborhood, I came out just to stand up there in a tuxedo to be adored for 8, 10, 12 minutes. But what we did was we would go on tour for 6, 8 months. So whatever the monologue was, that 8 minutes, by the time you got halfway through the tour, you had it down to a fine point. I mean, you knew where it was coming from, you know. So you had a chance to work on it. You weren't just thrown to the camera, and you know.
Yeah, but on the other hand, say you left Milwaukee and were going to Omaha. Now, the chances are the folks in Omaha, you may have killed in Milwaukee, but in Omaha, they in those days had no idea who was coming in. So you really had to work hard to
well,
get
yeah, well, you had to. Now we don't have that because of television. I mean, there's no small towns anymore. Everybody knows the same thing that's happening at the same time. But yes, so you'd walk in, and the guy who you followed would always leave a little note in the dressing room. Mention you know, Zinger's Cafeteria. That's always good for a laugh.
Yeah,
See, we'd all help
references.
each other,
Yeah.
local references. And all you had to do was walk in and see that there was no gas in the gas station or there was bad coffee in the local cafeteria or whatever.
You're home free.
And you were home free. But then again, we also worked in sketches and sang songs. And I'm crying about this whole thing.
This, being here on Haircut Night with us is probably right up there with your list of big thrills. And we have a surprise for you. It's not a huge surprise, a surprise. And we're going to pause for station identification. We'll be back with Mr. Alan King, and we'll surprise him.
Hello, I'm Larry Bud Melman with another one of my 5 good reasons why you should ride Melman buses. Reason 8, we go most places most buses go. If you're headed somewhere, we might just be going your way. Melman, not just a bus ride, an adventure, only in a bus.
Yes, more breakthrough television here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This, of course, is Mr. Alan King. Jane Byrne will be joining us later, and we have a little surprise for you. Not a major surprise, but we're going to share that with you in a minute. Now, from the Catskills, you went to burlesque, or is that the same thing?
No, it's not the same thing.
Now, who did you work with in burlesque?
Well, I didn't. I wasn't fortunate enough to work with them, but they were my idols. Red Buttons, Phil Silvers, of course, was probably the best comedian at what he does that I've ever seen. I was Zero Mostel and Phil Silvers have been my idols. Rags Raglan, Phil. I mean, I used to cut school just to go to the Minsky's or the Eltons, just to watch. I mean, of course, Bilko was probably the greatest comedy character that television ever produced.
What kind of show would people see? Because I'm guessing that there's nobody in this studio who has any vague notion of what they would see.
Well, it was just 3, 4, 5-minute sketches. We didn't have to set the plot. There'd be a backdrop. There'd be a palm tree. And all of a sudden you'd say, here we are on a desert island. And then you'd go.
Yeah.
We got to cross, and you'd see the fins painted on the back. Somebody's got to swim across the shark-infested waters. Plot was unimportant. Said it right away.
Yeah.
All right, we'll draw straws. Who goes? Everybody had the Lindbergh hats on with the goggles hanging down, you know. And then someone would say, and no matter, Phil Silvers would always con somebody in. No matter what straw he picked, it was always a short straw, you know. And then again, we'd have to swim. He says, we'll never get off this island alone. I remember Phil Silvers, who was such an erudite fellow, went to see Robert Morley in Edward, My Son. He wanted to be a Shakespearean actor, Phil, you know. And the opening line in this sketch was, we'll never get off this island again. And then they go to the shticks. So he went to see a matinee of Robert Morley, Edward, My Son. And he was so impressed, he almost missed the curtain. It was a 5 o'clock show. Rags Raglan, everybody waiting around for Phil to get there. He walked in, the curtain went up, and he looked around, he said, marooned! And Rags went right into the pit, you know, it was over.
Was the first major television program you did the Ed Sullivan Show?
Yeah, major. Ed Sullivan's Show, of course, was television. It was variety. It was what vaudeville was about. I started on the show, and it was called The Toast of the Town.
Right.
And Ed, I guess somebody's going to come up with a great idea one day. They're going to get a theater in New York on Sunday night, and they're going to spend 1 hour from 8 to 9, and they're going to put on elephants and comics and magicians, and somebody's going to say, what a wonderful idea that is.
We have some, I guess it's videotape, of your appearance, an appearance on that program. This is 1957, I believe.
Well, I was already old.
This is nearly 25, I guess it is 25 years old. Mr. Alan King making an appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, about 2 months ago, a fine young comic appeared on our program named Alan King. And as a result of that appearance, he was signed by Hollywood for a part, that time a part, in the story of Helen Morgan. His performance has been so great in it that he has now been given co-starring roles. So here is young Alan King. Let's bring him out tonight. Alan, I know you've been awfully busy becoming a movie star on the coast, so you probably never got around to doing what you told the audience you were going to do in the last show, that you were going to sell your Long Island home.
No, I said I'd like to sell the house, Ed, but My wife won't let me, you know.
No?
No, my wife says that the house is not for us, it's for the children. Nobody ever does anything for the parents anymore. It's all for the children. We dedicate our lives to our kids. They don't appreciate it. I have 2 boys. The most miserable kids you've ever seen in your life. It's probably not the nicest thing to say about your kids, but I'm honest. I have miserable kids. Oh, I knew I was going to have them, you know. My mother wished them on me. When I was growing up, my mother used to say to me, wait, you miserable son. Yes. I didn't wait long enough. That was my problem. No, I've really dedicated myself to my children. Fine schools, summer camps, country home, the house I talked about the last time I was on. And of course, 6 months ago, my wife decided she didn't want the 2 boys sleeping in the same room. She said the neighbors were talking. You know, I was their age. I slept in the same bed with 4 brothers and some guy we didn't even know.
We want to thank Sullivan Productions for digging up that bit of videotape for us. Tell me...
That night, may I please?
Surely.
Because that's so nostalgic. That was Easter Sunday. And Sergio Franchi had just come over from Europe. And the close of the show was supposed to be, you know, an Easter pageant with the stained glass windows and the lilies. And Sergio Franchi, first appearance in the United States. When I saw that, he was going to sing Ave Maria. Now, Ed Sullivan was such a lovely character. And at the end of the show, we were all standing in the wings because we were going to come out for a finale. And he introduced it. He said, now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Sergio Funky. Sergio Funky, sir. And he took him 5 minutes. He couldn't get the name out. Finky, Funky, Sergi, Funky, Finky. And this is live television. And then finally, he ad-libbed. He says, how about it for Ave Maria? And the place collapsed.
Mr. Alan King, the new movie is, you're in author
with Al Pacino. He has a small part, but it's okay.
Anytime you're free, please come back and talk
my office is across the street, and I'd like nothing better than come back and visit with you.
Thank you very much. Alan King will be back to talk with our director, Mr. Hal Gurney. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the show. My next guest has had an illustrious television career. Among other impressive credits, he was the director of the daytime David Letterman Show and is currently the director of this program. Would you please welcome our director, Mr. Hal Gurney, ladies and gentlemen. Let me explain something. Hal, of course, can't come out of the control room because we're doing the show right now, but so you can better know who we're talking with, here's now some videotape of Hal on location setting up one of our mini remote. There's Hal. And now we... Attaboy, Hal. Now we can actually talk to Hal over the PA here in the studio. Thanks for being here today, Hal.
Oh, Dave, I have to be here. It's my job.
Well,
you know, Dave, you know, I think people don't realize what a director actually does. You know, how much power he has, even over a major star like yourself. I have a little demonstration I wanted to show you.
Well, you know, a demonstration, Hal, would always be helpful, but we're running a little late on time, what with haircut day and so forth.
Don't worry, Dave. Just hold on to your desk, and here we go.
Oh, my God.
Dave, have you ever had a secret wish to be a war correspondent?
A war correspondent? Well, no, not actually. No, I've never...
Well, now you are.
Good heavens.
Is that realistic enough for you, Dave?
No, it's, well, maybe it is. I don't know. I've never really been in actual combat, Hal, so it's hard for me to know what is.
How about this? Wow. Hey, watch it, fellas. We need them. Maybe the battlefield isn't your style. Have you ever thought of hosting a kiddie show?
A little like a party at Paul's in here now. No, I really haven't given that much thought, Hal.
Well, I have.
Oh, good. Dancing animals. Yes, sir.
Hey, say, Dave, why don't you get into a cute costume? You know, the kind like Dave Tennant wears. Just raise your hands, and give us a little dance.
No, no, I'm not going to dance. I feel like a jerk then. Suddenly I'm Huckleberry Hound. Well, that's great, Hal. I think everybody has a pretty good idea of what a director can do, and now that we've had enough for one night, and thank you so much. I certainly enjoyed talking with you.
That's too bad, because, you know, the audience would really rather see pictures of my fishing trip, won't you, folks?
Well, see, Woody, you just turned that sign on, Hal, and I'd love to see them also, but we're really running late on time.
Okay, Dave. Hey, Dave, have you ever seen the film The Fly? An old film. Good
No,
one.
no, I've never seen The Fly.
How about this? Try this. Now just say, help me, help me.
Help me.
I think we'll have time for my fishing trip now.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Remember one thing, NBC was the first network to televise haircuts. My next guest in 1979 was elected mayor of Chicago by an amazing 82% of the voters. She has since become one of the most controversial and written about big city mayors in the country, and we're delighted that she's here with us tonight. Please welcome from Chicago, Mayor Jane Byrne. Very nice of you to be here on Haircut Night. Let me ask you about.
I'm glad you arranged all this smoke and everything.
It's a little foggy in here because we did some demolition earlier.
I was watching.
82%. Explain to me, is that about the best anybody's ever done when running for?
That's the highest vote that was ever totaled in Chicago.
You'll be running again when?
Probably next February.
Do you anticipate that same sort of popularity?
No, I don't think so, Dave. I don't think that incumbents today basically are getting that kind of a vote. I think most pollsters would tell you that most incumbents, due to conditions and I suppose Reaganomics and the rest, are down about 30%. And I think there's no doubt about that.
Now, explain to me how it was, other than you must be a wonderful candidate, that you were able to get 82% of the folks who went to the polls.
Well, I think that the city of Chicago is very demanding. Its constituency in the type of mayor that it has. And whereas in New York, I think it's the Big Apple and you have many, many things going. And in Chicago, people are demanding of the services. And I think there was slippage for a little while there. I had been a commissioner for 10 years prior to leaving government before I decided to run. And we ran a very tight ship during those periods. And then it seemed that it slipped a little bit. And I think the public reacted very violently to the slippage.
It's difficult to imagine. When people think of Chicago politics, of course, it's Mayor Daley. And now, and I don't know how to say this, but a woman running a big city like Chicago is about 180 degrees away from what they think of when Mayor Daley comes to mind. Huh?
Well, I think that you're going to see more and more women getting involved in politics at every level than you're used to. And I think you have Margaret Thatcher as an example over in London. And I think she did a very good show in the past month and a half. I think she proved that a woman can be a woman and yet be tough when the fight is really rough. And I think that you will see that women, when I went to college, you really didn't think too much about getting into government. You never would have thought of being the mayor of Chicago. But I think the younger women that are coming out of the colleges and the professional schools today just say, why not? You know, and I think that's all part of the same ERA feeling that's being demonstrated across the country, too.
What's new in Chicago? What's going on there? Everything is new and everything is brand new. You leveled the city and started over, huh?
Not quite. But we did just receive from the U.S. Conference of Mayors the Most Livable City Award, which I'm very proud of.
Now, let's...
And the World's Fair Committee has selected us for the World's Fair in 10 years.
In 1980... No,
92.
1992. So
right.
You want to run out and take
and
a
I hope everybody here will come.
Now, this is a World's Fair. Now, is this going to be like the one that's presently in Knoxville? Thank you very much.
This is the backing of the 36 nations that belong to the Bureau of International Exposition.
This will be your major league deal,
This will be a very, very large.
Now, but it's not the same as I don't mean to demean the one that's going on now.
Nor do I, but it is. I think it's got better status. World status.
So that'll be in 10 years. Something to jot down.
It's jotted.
Now,
everybody come.
Tell me about the most livable city. How do we win this?
Well, I think that many things are going on in Chicago. New York has always certainly been the theater center. It's been certainly the arts. You can see it wherever you go. And Chicago's had quite a drive on for the past 3.5 years. Because if you have those things, you certainly do have a more livable city. And we've had quite a few. We have summertime festivals, and we have Taste of Chicago, and we have a lot of things that are making people, and I think, again, during the economic conditions that we're under, people that used to go away in the summertime, people that would go away for longer vacations, they're again enjoying our lakefront. And next weekend we will have, probably what many cities have, we do ours pretty well, the Taste of Chicago linked with the fireworks, the symphony, and the big 4th of July weekend. Last year we averaged about 1.2 million people in that 3-day period. And the lakefront was just full of fun. And people that before would go away are now staying in Chicago and enjoying it.
You might also want to consider adding a haircut night. It seems to be unbelievably, I mean, you can feel the excitement here.
We did that on the lake last year. We did.
What an ugly thing, a hair floating on the lake. What a nasty image that is.
It was held on a beach, but and it was for charity. But good crowds.
You were actually giving haircuts on the beach?
Yes, Bonwood Tellers came down and did it.
Chicago is such a wonderful city and has a feel all its own. Is there anything now for a long time there was supposedly an inferiority complex, or maybe that was just New Yorkers looking at Chicago as lesser than the Big Apple?
Well, I think New York always has.
Yeah.
I do. I can remember in college having people tell me that I came from the adolescent Midwestern New York, But I think Chicago's come a very long way, and I think Chicago is really a great place to visit. And I think it's a great place to live.
How do people in Chicago feel about New York City?
Well, as I said earlier, we're a very demanding city, and the people there are very proud of their city. And there's a tremendous amount of spirit that Chicago really is #1. And I certainly don't want to come out here and get into an argument. As you said, I can be controversial, and I don't want to do that.
What is the population now of Chicago?
We're a little less than 3.
3 million, that's right in the metropolitan Chicago.
Right.
And what is the statistic for the entire, what do they call those?
5.5 to 6.
Yeah.
So depending on how far you take the metropolitan area.
Yeah. So it becomes, it's New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, then what? What's after that?
I don't know.
Detroit? Would it be Detroit?
No, I don't think so.
Geez, too bad we had a Buick for you. If you could answer that question, Jane. Oh, stop it!
You get in serious trouble in Chicago if you take anything.
Chicago is also known the architecture and the wonderful public art work.
That's correct.
Tell us about some of the pieces there and your plans for continuing that.
Well, we have the Murrow, we have the Calder, we have basically we've been doing a 1% of every city project. That would be whether it be a new fire station, a new police station, any public building whatsoever. 1% of the cost of that building goes into a type of public art. And so you're seeing it in every community in the city of Chicago, and people really do enjoy it.
Is that a radical program as far as you know?
What do you mean radical?
Well, nobody else doing it.
Well, I think we were first. I don't know if anybody else has done it since we decided to do that. But it really does give a lift to the various communities in Chicago.
Let me ask you about something else that was considered radical. Well, I don't know when, but after you took office, you moved into what was described as some sort of public housing.
Cabrini Green.
And it was also described as being not necessarily dangerous, but certainly not a really, well, you would describe it. It was dangerous.
Between January and March, we had about 22 gang members shot there, and about 16 of the 22 had been killed, and that was in a 3-month period. And it was during a very heavy gang activity. And it seemed I went down there several times in the midst of this to try to determine what's so different about this. This is really only about 9 blocks from the Gold Coast, which is our beautiful area. And it seemed to me there had to be something very, very seriously wrong there to have such really intense fear, intimidation, and hatred. And so I thought, after trying to to move it myself, that the best way to do it was to move there. And I knew that if I moved there, not only would city services and the police and everything else get heavily involved just by virtue of being the mayor. And I'm happy to say that crime now is down about 51% hard crime in the past year in that community. And there have not been any serious incidents. There still are some petty crimes, and there still are muggings, and there still are petty fights. But the type of brutality that was going on there, and the nicest part of that, Dave, was that the people that lived there, the mothers, the children, who really didn't want to be part of it, were so intimidated and so frightened of that gang structure, and they just ran the place, that now they've blossomed. And when you do have problems, they come forward to the police, and that's part of the whole picture.
Yeah,
and
so
it's really helped quite a bit.
Your visit or your stay there was a successful
Well, we changed a lot of the way all of our public housing was handled after that. We established a new gang crime suppression unit with a new deputy superintendent. And we found, you know, that you can't keep intense pressure, police pressure on. So it's a mobile group that goes from project to project, and it works very well.
How do you get along with Ed Koch?
I spoke to him about 2 weeks ago about unemployment, as a matter of fact, in your city versus our city, and the types of programs that he was working on to try to bring it up, and what we were trying to do in Chicago to bring it up. I get along fine with him.
Yeah. Do you like the man?
I think he's very nice.
Doing a good job?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here.
Dave.
And anytime, we'd be happy to come to Chicago. I would love to be there. Jane Byrne, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back to wrap up Haircut Night. Thank you very much. Welcome back. We're all happy and kind of sad because this is the end of Haircut Night here at NBC on the 6th floor in New York City, and I want to thank everybody who made it such an overwhelming success. Of course, our student barbers from the Atlas Barber School of New York, Minerva Manuel, Stanley, Eli, and Aaron Ryan, and your name, sir, what is?
Paul Archer.
Paul, and you had your haircut. Can we get a nice look at Paul? It turned out very nice. Are you happy with that?
Very happy.
And they gave you the little mustache, or did you have that when you came in?
I had it when I came in.
As haircuts go, how would you rate this one?
Okay. Fantastic.
It's somewhere between the range of okay and fantastic. Thank you very much, Paul. Who else, and what is your name, sir?
Errol Arston.
And has yours been cut yet?
Yes, it has.
And is this the most exciting you've been in your life? Most excited?
Well, close.
Okay. Thank you again, everybody. We have to go away. Tomorrow night, well, Stan Freeberg, Will Schreiner, Lloyd Dobbins, and Linda Ellerby, and a look at laundromat etiquette. Thank you very much. Good night.
This has been a Melman production.